Welcome to the launch of ArchiCAD 16 live in conjunction with CYPE Engineers. We will be looking at, in this particular webinar, the way that Liverpool department store, Mexican major department store in retail, is actually using BIM for its expansion program in collaboration with other persons and collaborators in other countries. We will then be looking at how ArchiCAD 16 has to offer in terms of its latest life. And beyond that, we will then have a look as in continuance with our Open BIM program. We will show how to exchange information with engineers, and in this case it's going to be CYPE Engineers who cater for both Latin America, Spain, Europe, as well as the United States. And eventually we will also have a look at Graphisoft Solutions ecosystem in terms of how all of this comes together with the use of information from the cloud. Without further ado, please note that we should be closing all applications, and it's recommended that we use an internet wire connection so that we have no loss of information coming through. And if we wish to see it in full screen, please click the full screen button. We will have questions and answers at the end of this webinar, but it's good to note that you're able to write your questions as they come up. So if you were to push out the control panel, that is with that orange arrow on the left, you should be able to write your questions. As soon as you have done that, you can then send them. We will then pick them up and answer them at the end of the session. Should we run out of time, which most likely will happen, we will then be answering directly to you via email. Do remember that all recordings that we do in terms of webinars are stored in our graphisoft.com site, and nonetheless those who have attended will get a direct link for them to view it at their pleasure. It is an ever-growing world which more and more people are connected to, and it's becoming far more global. It is therefore important for us to maintain our competitive edge and being able to work at any time, anywhere, with any restrictions in terms of either technology or location. That's why our BIM server technology will allow us to merge all of this information through a fluid system within a BIM operating working flow. Just a few words about Graphisoft for those who don't know us. Graphisoft is definitely one of the pioneers in leading what used to be called the virtual building, or now more likely the building information modeling, or BIM. With ArchiCAD we will be far more creative because we can see things in real time, of course be more productive, whilst we enjoy a process in collaboration that can actually cater for projects of any size, be that small or large, in any place in the world. ArchiCAD has been written by architects for architects, and in fact it's one of these BIM solutions that has been localized at worldwide level to in more than 17 languages, and also to more than 25 standards worldwide, over 100 countries. It is also about the only platform BIM that can actually support both operating systems, Apple Macintosh and Microsoft Windows. Today we have the chance and opportunity to hear Fernando Parrillat from the Mexican chain store Liverpool to tell us how his attitude, or their attitude towards BIM, is helping them in their everyday business and their aggressive future expansion. Fernando, I welcome you to the webinar. Please take over and let us know how you guys cater for this. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew. This is Fernando Parrillat talking directly from Mexico City, from Liverpool's headquarters. First of all, let me tell you something about our company. Liverpool's is one of the major departmental stores located in Mexico. We were founded in 1847, and at this moment we have the broadest coverage throughout the country. The combination of wide commercial offering, exciting shopping experience, and our infrastructure is one of our major focus in order to get our clients, our customers, coming to our stores and that way retaining their experience. The experience is something that is very important for us in order for them to make part of their lives Liverpool, and it seems to me that at this moment we are making that directly in them. At this moment we have 89 stores already opened. Today we are opening our number 89 in Veracruz, but we are hoping that before the year ends, more than 90 stores will be opened. One other part of our business is the shopping centers. At this moment we are having 18 of them, and we have presence in 53 of the major cities in the country, and we with 30 states. About the retail, who is our core business, we have about 1.3 million square meters all over the country, but also for rent we have something like 325,000 square meters. During 2011 we opened 6 stores, and this on 2012 we are expecting to open like 9 stores. Well, why BIM? First of all, 4 years ago we began working with a new kind of design process here in the company. We were very worried about the way we were doing things, and that's why we take 3 major goals to be accomplished in these years. The first of them is the information, the second is the collaboration, and the third one is the operation. About information, for us it is very important not only to keep the actual information from our buildings, but also to have a special space in which historical informations need to be archived, so that way we can learn about the exits, about the things that already happened all around our stores in the last years. Also, for information, it's very important the access. We have different kind of clients that need to be accessed this, not only from our company but also from our partners. So that's another issue that it's already solved with all the BIM and ArchiCAD and all our methodology. Also, the updating, we need to have update information for the commercial and the operations areas, and we also need this information to be consolidated in only one file. With the models that ArchiCAD uses, this issue is already solved also. About the backup, it's very important for us not to have a lot of files that need to be archived, but with one model, only one file needs to be archived, and that way we can handle a lot of more information in a easier way. And the last one for information is the BI, the business intelligence, in which at this moment we are looking forward for this kind of information, not only to work strictly for construction and operations. Also, we want this information to be handled with other kind of databases in order to have better information to the decisions that we need to have to make every day. In the second point, collaboration, this is very important. This is very important for us to work not only in a local way. We also need our associates and the people that it's in other stores or constructions to have access to this kind of information. This way, for the planning stage, we also need multi-user ambient in which as the Liverpool's people, but also the externals can work in only one model at the same time. This needs to be done in a true online way, in which we can have all the information from the other people at the same time in the moment this is it is drawn. And of course, security takes a very important place all over this, because if all the informations need to work not only directly in our headquarters but also in external areas, the security it's very important to be kept. About the operation, it's important that always for us to have a better change handling, looking to forward to decrease all our costs, mainly during the planning stage, but also during construction and operations. The quality assurance is very important also, because that way we are sure that we are giving to our clients a better product, and also working about the change and cost decreasing. And all of this with a lot of communication, using all the tools that all the ArchiCAD is giving us at this moment. Well, on this slide we show you the actual ecosystem in which we are working actually. We use the internet as a main way for the information to go from one side to another side. And we have three main databases in all of our process. The first one is the internal productive database, in which all the new projects begins. This internal productive is always worked by the DCO, which is the construction area, the display area, the prevention, and other external and subcontractors area. And on this stage, we begin with the main structure for the projects, and then this information goes to another server, which is the external productive, in which people from different countries can access to these projects and work at the same time online. On this external productive, we have been working with companies from Mexico, USA, England, and Spain, and always having all the support directly from Graphisoft and from ANSYS here in Mexico. They have entered our models directly and helping us to solve some of the problematics that we had. When a project it's already with the construction part, and when the construction ends, this became the authorized project for us. When we have a construction that is ended, the information in the first stage became authorized by the store planning area, and these go through an authorized database that in which other kind of database like our ERP, which at this moment is SAP, and other BI databases can access and begin using the information. But not only database, directly other kind of users can access, like the commercials and the operations and other authorizes to consult this kind of information. Well, for today, the Liverpool Lomas, it's our main theme. This was our flagship for 2012. It totals 319,000 square feet in 4 levels of department store, and it all have also 4 levels for the parking. It includes new concepts like the gourmet world and the human rooftop park, and because of the place in which it is already constructed, the facade and the rooftop have a special design because at this part of the city there are very few people that can walk around. The main visuals that you need always to that you always have, it's most of the time directly from a car. For this project, we had the coordination for the entire project, but 4 companies worked with us at the same time. The one that was in charge of the interior architecture was FRCH from Cincinnati. For the architecture, all the facade and the internal, the main area in the center was Rocking Arquitectos from Mexico. For the interior design and the gourmet world was Lewis Motherly from London. And for the landscape, we have the help from Balsley Associated. Well, here are some actual photographs from the store. This is the central area. This is the kitchen area, and this is the section for the garden furniture. In this photo, you can see the juniors section, and for the ladies, we have the shoes section and the bag sections. And as you can see, this is a very organic spaces, and we don't have any problem with using ArchiCAD for this. Well, this is only a main introduction for the project. I'm sure that you could have another kind of questions. I will be pleased to solve it if you want in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernando. That was eloquent, very well said. Thank you very much for your help and support. I think this is one way of showing how this works and letting people know that the BEAM approach is definitely the way to get all aspects of business involved, because it's a very rich database from which all kinds of actors can take information for their own purposes. Thank you again. Now let's have a look at what ArchiCAD Live can bring us in for 16. Prior to that, I just wanted to let you know that we're actually being in collaboration with other people. As you know, Fernando was in Mexico. In Spain, we also have Xavi Rivas, who is in fact in the north of part of Spain, in Catalunya. Javier Ferratelli is also down south in Seville. And then we have Pablo Gomez, as well as Diego and Paulo Alves in Valencia. Here in Madrid, myself and Jose Juan. So you will see the collaboration of this work being done live into actual project, which is going to be the Lomas project, Inter Lomas project, to show the different aspects of ArchiCAD as far as 16 is concerned and the new cloud systems that we have for our users. This is one of the floor plans that we currently have for the Inter Lomas project. As you can see, it's a fairly well interesting area. Now we can actually see the elevations. Those elevations are live, by the way. They're not just elements that you see all over the place. They're in fact building products, building elements that you're going to see taking place. As it is a working project at the moment, at the same time we're having different assistants working through it. And as part of the job to show that this can be done in ArchiCAD, we are, for the purposes of this demonstration, furnishing the level 2, and at the same time showing you how all of this works together, especially for the new Morph tool. And you can see it is a very interesting as well as organic facade. It's meant for those traveling at very large speeds around the site to see it quickly and have an impact. And here we go, we're going to go into it. So currently these views that we have here will now be shared by the parts of the group. We can see them at the bottom right hand corner of your screen. Jose Juan, Javier, and Xavi, they have different colors. Right now on the screen we can see the blue color, meaning that no one has actually accessed, and it's free to be accessed, so you can actually select each of these elements. And we're going to see how these elements get selected by the different people. In this case, Jose is going to take all the walls, Xavi is going to take all the columns, and Javier is going to be taking the main grid lines for the structure. So now we see different colors here. The pinkish colors are for Jose, the colors that we also see in terms of the yellow or orangey are for Xavi, and the rest, which is the structural grid, is for Javier. So now we're going to have a look at this in 3D and see how it all looks. You can see we've selected all of it. It's live currently. We're simply regenerating at the moment, and you can see there all the areas. Blue is significant because it has not been selected at this stage, but you can see the columns already, and you can see the walls with different colors. So right now they're going to be selecting all the reservations, and some of messagings are going to take place, like right now in the case of Javier or Xavi Rivas. They're asking for information so that they can actually select their elements that they want to work with. This sort of information happens to be on the fly. You're taken directly to the area where Xavi's asking for information, because in a large project you don't know where it might be, so you're directly to it. And this internal messaging system is live. It allows you to collaborate on real time, and as you can see, it takes very little time to go across. We could simply release it by tapping a button, and it's no longer part of Jose Juan's system, but it will be part of Xavi's system. So he should be able to continue to work. As you can see, some areas now have different colors for the walls, and our different assistants are now taking care of their part by selecting and acquiring those elements they require for their work. We once more see it in 3D just to make it more obvious, and you can see clearly that these elements are being selected as we can see. Now some walls have turned to red, which is Xavi's, and some elements, to Javier, and some elements again in walls and others have also gone to Xavi. So they clearly show who they're from if you put the cursor next to it, and we know exactly who works. This is a very important system that allows us to work in conjunction, in collaboration, without having problems of coordination or having any kind of double doing up and corrupting the database. Very important. Okay, here we have, this is our part that we're going to be doing, and in fact we're going to be using the new tool Morph. With this new tool we're going to fill in the gap that you see there. Currently you're able to do this because ArchiCAD allows you to put 3D line work in place. That's going to give you a guidance for the new form. It's in the wrong layer, but it doesn't matter, so we just switch it on, and the Morph system starts working. As you can see, it checked out all the line work, and then with these edges generated the form that we see here. It's quite nifty. As you can see, it allows you to go from the macro, which is in this case the building, towards the micro, which we'll show later on for the furnishing of some parts of the store. Now we can see other views that we'll be looking at in a minute. As you can see here, and it takes a little while, it is a database that allows us to see everything, and we're able to understand that it's all parts. They're real, they're like we have built it. We can see it in different colors, as you can see for this representation. So it is, after all, an architectural representation. It's not just a mechanical one. We're able to select how and which way we see it, but we can always work in every part of the database, that is, in all the windows, be that 3D, sections, elevations, and details. This is a 3D element, and in fact it's going to show right now that they are real. You can see there it has some form of information because it is an intelligent object, and again we will see other areas of the building so that you can get more acquired with the interior of this retail store. At the moment we're going to see the well that takes up all the vertical circulation, all these escalators that we have there, and further views that we can see beyond, just to give us a bit of an idea of the complexity of the building internally and how easy where it's able to be provided with the system that Graphisoft has done with ArchiCAD. You can see very well that all these different chaps have actually got information. They can actually send and receive all the elements that they wish to. All the colors have been assigned, and what we're going to do is to acquire all the information. This is going to take about 30 seconds at the most. We have to remember that the server is currently located in Paris, that we're working from Madrid in conjunction with different people around Spain, and that we're able to get all this information across to you live via internet. So the system has to be very efficient, very fast. And here you are. You're able to see all the changes taking place, all the new things that have been added, all the additional information that have actually been done. And here we have a report from our different assistants and collaborators saying that they've done their job. So you can imagine, as a main executive officer or a guy in charge of the project, you know exactly how far things are going along. But of course, this is all well and good. We have all this information that appears to be as in 2D, but in fact we need to be able to collaborate with other assistants or collaborators or consultants. In this case, we will be looking at how this turns into structure. In order to get a combination done, we will have to start thinking about other consultants. We're looking at the moment the wells from a plan view, and now we see it again from a 3D point of view. But the interest here is not these two images, but what comes next. What comes next is going to be the structure of the building, entire building, which is going to allow us to view it from a different point of view. Different users or different agents involved in the production of the project have different needs. And here's where OpenBIM, with its inclusive system of support in terms of exchange of information, can allow us to connect with our different consultants or collaborators, be that of any kind. As you saw from the ecosystem in terms of Liverpool, they actually have it even dumped into their SAP ERP. Each of these elements, as you can see being highlighted, are construction elements. Even if these elements had been done in a different system, we're able to import them into ArchiCAD and then further work on them so that we can continue to modify or change them. Therefore, it's very flexible. And here we are. We have the structural componentry of the building. What we have to tell it, though, is what is it that we want to send to our engineers. It is quite important to ensure that we send them the correct information so that they don't use time and there's no redundant elements that they don't require. So we're going to say in this area what sort of elements are taking loads so that they're actually what they want and not just some fancy 3D geometry that is not required. Once we have done this, we will then be saving this as an IFC file. IFC file, as you probably know, is the Industry Foundation Class System. Now, it is important to note that it's universal, it belongs to no one, and the beauty about it is that it's a simple file system. It's in fact a text file that picks up all the information relevant to the BIM model, not just its geometry but all its cleverness in terms of what it does. We're able to save this to selecting elements that we need, and at the same time using translators that we already have done in Graphisoft for different software vendors. In this case, we're going to be sending this to CYPE Engineers, and the beauty about it is that all of this can be worked out so that the protocols in terms of information exchange is clearly defined in terms of all kinds of elements. We're able to then ensure that what we have is information that is valid. But when we produce these drawings and sections, because after all this is what we issue to site, we note here that most of the elements are intelligent in terms of being able to clean up. They do not double up in information listings or quantity takeouts because it's clever enough to know that it's inverted into some other element. You can see also that the envelope here has actually been cut correctly. It actually joins very well. Elements such as escalators or stairs are clearly defined. So that's going to save us a lot of time in drafting. In fact, we do not draft anymore. We take this information directly from the model and we simply add further information as we need. That could even be in details that inquire or have the latest information from the manufacturer, or if you like, information in 2D referring to text or to dimensions. But literally, as you can see, we don't need to draft. These are real elements. We're actually building them. And all the cleverness in terms of it having the levels, the elements, and being able to be listed out is all in there. It can be used for any kind of emulation, which we will see with CYPE Engineers, even, for example, for fire engineering, to check how an evacuation system will work should we have a fire developing. But this is the beauty about BIM. We're able to have a lot of information that different people will require, and it's not always the same. So here we are on the second story level, which has actually been furnished for this the purposes of this presentation, and some of the joinery elements have actually been put in place. We're trying to at the moment show you some information, but unfortunately internet is a little bit slow. Nonetheless, you can see from an overhead point of view the way that the story has been shared into three main nuclei around the main core of the actual vertical elements, and that is going to let us show you how we can actually travel through this building or this floor in particular for many reasons. We're able to understand how the shopping mix is done in terms of retail expert. We're able to get salespeople involved in how to best display their information or take advantage of this to their clients. We're able to do marketing from this. We're even able to share this information for building groups or for the clients or for us ourselves to be able to analyze and study. Now, this is within ArchiCAD, but of course, we're able to do so through BIMX. BIMX is that particular tool, which is going to reside in the cloud as well, that allows us to package information in one single executable file that can be used by either Macintosh or Windows. And of course, it is able to give us intelligent information that we can query, we can measure, we can check. And this is going to be interesting because if we send this information, it can then be modified later on and simply sent back if we have to, in case we're going in a development mode with the project. And that is at any stage. So here we are, we're going into the area that we're looking for just to show you from a micro point of view what the actual element does in terms of morph. Now, before we show you how this works, we're going to take you into a video. Now that video is going to show you what in essence is what that we're trying to do. Now this is purely from a show point of view, but in fact what we're trying to do is to show how it actually works within ArchiCAD. This is the premiere of it. What we want to understand is that it should work such that it's simple, that it's intuitive, that it makes sense, and it's something that we're used to. So here we are. We see somebody drawing a little shape. In this case, could be the size of a sofa. It is a current block that can then be changed into whichever way we want, because we have some auxiliary systems such as those that we're seeing at the moment to help us in a way be able to push or pull areas or polygons within that block, much like SketchUp or within ArchiCAD. And of course we end up at the end of the day with an object that is in fact intelligent. It is in fact a BIM element. So these sort of extrusions have been made around the backrest of the sofa, and then we continue on so that we're able to somehow get another shape that is going to be representative of the cushions that are placed on the sofa, but both the sitting as well as the backrest. And as you can see, again, the same process with some auxiliary elements, some ways of changing it so that it becomes a double-edged system, so that there is no reason why we cannot have double curved elements as we are showing right now. The copying of it is simple enough. The idea of being able to copy this and then shift it in terms of its rotation, but it has to be simple. So this is the principle of it. This is something that we'd really like to say that we have actually captured. At the end of the day, this has to be shown somehow, and we can select a number of textures, or if you like finishes, that can actually be applied to the sofa at the end. And this is the end result. Well, our intention here is within this space to show you something similar to what you have already seen, more than anything so that you can understand that what we put in that video is in fact true. And here we are. We're going to be selecting some materials first of all, just to make it more visible. We're going to be describing the base of that sofa through a polygon that you can see being represented right now. The beauty about it is that you can see some pet palettes. The pet palettes that follow the cursor or actually be staying very clearly in front of you in the screen allows you to do all kinds of editing, including the precising, the mentioning of any kind of distances that you require. Here we have isolated it so it's easier to see, and we're going to start, as you can see, from the top in the middle of the palette, being able to modify this by pushing it up in a certain distance that we know already, of course, is about 70 centimeters. We're then going to be able to get some divisions within any of the arcs, any of the edges, so that it helps us. We're going to pull out, if you like, an auxiliary line. That's simply going to help us to define an internal polygon that you can see here. Okay. Now the intention of it is that we can then push that polygon eventually and create, if you like, the main carcass of the sofa. So we have two main side lines. We're going to get the rear line at the moment. As you can see, there are some divisions being made there because we wish it to, so it makes it easier for us to do it quickly. This is the beauty about ArchiCAD. Whilst you're doing something, there's no changing of commands, there's no changing of program. You simply continue working on the fly. Here we are, we have described another element which is going to push down a certain distance, which we already know, and the intention here is to create that carcass that we're talking about. Here's the base. So we have finally finished the base within the last few seconds, and at this stage we're going to start thinking about the backrest. The backrest is used again by pushing out another polygon. This polygon happens to be a circle, in fact, and it is easy to shape it and to turn it. As you can see, it is intelligent enough with the cursor so that we have information on the fly helping us navigate, at the same time being able to change points or locations so that we can extrude and move along with no problems. Here we are, we're changing at the moment the height of it so that it's easier to push it along that edge, and we're then selecting a point from which we're going to be able to extrude it right along the edges of the backrest of the sofa. And here we go. We already see the first part being made. The second part will shortly be done. In fact, it's a little slow here in the internet. That's okay. And again, we come back and we finalize this shape. Now that we have that extrusion, we will simply put it in place so that it actually looks like the sofa that we want to see. Here we are. It's in position. Now obviously with morph you can have many elements, or you can make many elements one element, and this is something that we're doing at the moment. But the beauty about it is that it's still only one element. It has taken out whatever is excess. So if you, as it is now being highlighted, you will probably see that it's all one element. Again, for takeouts is extremely important because we don't want doubling up of measurements in terms of quantities. What we're going to do now is simply place down the first of the cushions. Because we have already divided in here in 4 places, we know that it fits 4 because that's what we selected. There's the element there. We're going to push it out there so that we can have a better look at it and be able to work with it. It comes out in a second. And beyond that, we're going to start thinking about softening that polygon so that it looks like a cushion. As you know, cushions tend to be soft. They tend to have different curvatures, and this is where the game comes. We no longer have to construct something in a mesh, which becomes very difficult to handle. The 3D aspect of producing this is very simple because we have such a lot of help, and they're online help. The roundness can be suggested in terms of smaller segments, so we have a better curve, and beyond that we can then extrude it so we can have a cushion the size that we wish. Once we've done that, the chamfering of all edges can then be done so that we have a double curve, both in terms of the horizontal as well as the vertical, and here we've selected just a kind of simple curve. Once we have done that, we can then push it back into position. Here we're just simply going to push it just shy of the back. The reason for that is that we want to copy this cushion as the backrest for our sofa. Again, these systems that we currently have, as you can see, a protractor there being shown, will allow us very quickly and simply to relocate it in the position that we need and locate the point of fulcrum or in terms of rotation, and beyond that point then be able to copy, if you like, this seater to the rest or the backrest. At the moment, again, fortunately the internet is a little bit slow, but we'll get over it. Here we are. We have already curved it, and we actually selected it, and we simply shifted it across that axis, and as a copy we have these 2 elements. Now the backrest has to have further shaping, and we're just going to shape the top of it a little bit so that we can actually give it this cushion look rather than just a solid as we currently have, so it looks a little bit fluffier. And at the same time, we're going to push out a bit of those surfaces just to give it a bit of depth. We can do as much as we want, but of course we really want to do this in a measured way, so we will select a distance that we want to do. And again, we will do the same for the seater. So it's very, very versatile. We can actually shape it much like we were doing anything organic. It's going to let us remorph anything we like. And once we have these guys in position, we can then copy them across, as you can see, with a very simple system such as what you see there, and then just have the number of copies done across the element. We're going to do a number of 3 elements across a certain distance, and when it so happens that they're correctly divided, and here we are, we have the 3 additional seating cushions done. Once we have selected all of this, the carcass now can also be turned a little bit. It's a bit harsh on the edges. We're going to chamfer all of those edges to make it look a little bit more comfortable, as if it had been cushioned. And this is again done simply with the click of a button, so that we can then get our information across. See, it's already been done, it's been taken care of, and it looked rather nifty. Now, of course, this is simply a color scheme that we have here to make sure that we see the differences. What we need to do now is to give it a finish. And we can select a number of materials. Here you go. In this situation, it's a cloth material that then can be placed in location where we want it to see, because remember, we actually cleared it out so we could see it better. And we can even render it so that we know that it looks okay. This render is going to be useful for us later on to show you how the BIM components portal works in terms of uploading this information that can be shared with either consultants that we have or the public at large, or we can even be nifty enough to start producing these elements for manufacturers who can then have their wares exposed in this community portal. All right, now let's continue on with the show. Here we are. We're going to start thinking about collaborating with engineers. So for that, I need to first of all go through, like we did with the video, the steps that we take and why is it that we've done what we've done. It's very important. Why? We need to ensure that there is a smooth workflow structure, that it is applicable to everybody, and that it is platform independent. So the first thing we have done, obviously, is to create the architectural model. In here, we've done it with ArchiCAD. And beyond that, as you've seen, we've actually filtered and classified the model. In this case, it's going to be for the engineer in terms of structure. We then export this architectural model as an IFC file for him to pick up. Once we have selected the file from him that is actually being worked on, we can reference his model onto ours. And the reason is very simple. There's proprietary work taking place here. There's also liabilities that we have to work out for, and nobody wants to have their model touched. So this way we're able to systematically check for coordination and ensure manipulation of changes so that we don't get lost. And at the end of it, we can also coordinate, if you like, all of these elements within the architectural flow. It is interesting to note that, as I said to you before, different actors or different agents within the process of construction or using either the building and see things differently. So in this case, the engineers do not see the same as the architects do. What they see as elements that take structure, that need to be calculated, and that are going to be supporting the building. So we have to take into account how everybody else sees that central database. So in this case, it is important to understand that the reference model is going to join these two so that we are able to understand what each of them sees, but at the same time, it interfaces clearly with what the architectural intent is. Beyond that, we have to clarify what the benefits are in doing this. As I said before, there's clear ownership. It is important to see that everybody knows where they stand, that there is no messing about with their model, and that their liabilities are clearly explained. The workflow compatibility is maximum because there's only one system, one file that everybody picks depending on what they need from that central database. And at the same time, change management is very effective. All of this gets recorded, obeying ISO 9001, because as you know, beyond now, we will probably have to ensure that everything that we've done gets recorded for later use in terms of management information, data management. So here we go. Some people described IFC as just simply a container of information that's dull, that has no need, I'm just a repository, when in fact it is a better system. It is a system that with some intelligence from Graphisoft is able to let us know all the elements that have actually been added to, elements that have been deleted, or elements that have been modified, and this doesn't necessarily mean structure, it could be anything else. So this frame of work has to be required and remembered, that everybody is well introduced, that the protocols of exchange of information are clearly stated, and therefore we will have a successful project at the end of the day. At this stage, I'm going to start talking about the actual demo. We're going to switch over to CYPE, and CYPE at the moment will be picking it up, so that it's all over to you guys. Please explain to us how you work and how things take on.
So, hello everyone. My name is Diego Queller. I work for the company CYPE Engineers. As you know, it's a software for architecture, engineering, and construction. So, for now, we are going to talk a little bit about our relationship between the ArchiCAD and the program CYPE CyPE. So now, with this graphic, we can see the lifestyle of the building. And around this process, we can use our software in any case. So we come over in any state of the building. So right now, as you know, we are open bin environment. We are going to use part of the information from ArchiCAD to our programs CyPE and CyPE. Now, in our program, I like to talk always about the software, because any software are consisted in 4 parts. The first part are the inputs, the second part are the introduction of all the elements of the structure. For that matter, we are going to use the 3D format. And then we're going to do the analysis. Finally, the last step is going to be the calculations of the job reports and drawings. I'd like to mention that not so many software around the world are going to do a 4-part, especially the drawing. With just one click, you can get all the drawings from any kind of any element of the structure. Now, we're going to see part of the introduction of one of the single projects. We are going to do we're going to import the 3D format, a 3D view. And then the high elevations, we must define all the loads by floor according to the experience of the designer. And then we can run the floor slabs. We can choose and select what we're going to do right now, especially the surrounding. As you know, the 3D format, we can detect interior walls and external walls. And then the external walls, and you can generate the loads in any case. So this is external walls. Now, finally, we're going to do the building codes. We are located in Mexico right now, so we're going to do it for Mexico. After that, we're going to do the wind load for Mexico. We pass into the tributary width in X and Y. And then the seismic load. Again, we go back to Mexico. I'm going to introduce the number mode. We run 3 by floor. In this case, I'm going to be 30. And then we can see the 3D view of the entire building. Now I'm going to show you, we can travel around the floors. Now I'm going to show you just how to generate small elements like beam on that part of the building. It's going to be a metallic one. And also we can choose one of our library, and you can create your own library. In this case, we're going to do the W and different profile. Yeah, we go column by column. And later on, I'm going to introduce, activate one of the DXF files, yeah, to help me finish the job. And then we are going to do the slabs. In this case, this particular case, we are going to do the steel deck. In this case also, we can create our own library. Once we finish with that, we can run the analysis. One more time, the 3D view. Now, so we can select the materials. In this case, the concrete and steel. You can see the differences between one another. That's the metallic one and concrete. Now the analysis. Okay, so this is a resume of a Javistan. We are done it. We can do all the analysis for isometric, any values. Also the chart report, fully detailed, complete, very clean. Even the metallic structure, even joints. This is the column editor, our column editor. We can generate also reports about all the columns. These are the drawings, joints, stair walls, and one more time we can generate these two ArchiCAD. I'm sorry. You see the quality of this importation is really nice. And now we are going to talk a little bit about the program, CYPE Med. We can do with this program in Spain. If you are located in Spain or in Europe, you can do electricity, light, heating, acoustic, all of them. But little by little, we're going to introduce some of the programs in South America, especially. I know that some countries we can do gas, fire, and acoustic one. Okay, once more time again. We are going to introduce the 3D format. In that format, I'm sorry, we can that format can recognize the horizontal elements, the vertical elements. This is a way to introduce in our software one job. We give the reference. We can choose the air conditions. Now we're importing the template in our program, 3D view about the structure. And now we're going to do the floor slab, but you can do it with the generic ones, but you can use also our libraries. We're selecting one of them for floor slabs, even for internal walls and external walls. See? Then the type of the building, it's a commercial area, it's a mall, and we are going to do the air conditioning. The high floors, we will check our own conditions. Now we're generating the site climate data and the sign light or shadow light. Okay. Now we can use the XH format to introduce an enclosure with just one click. So we'll go for circulation, and we can run now the analysis. Okay, we choose the area. Now we can see if we want to introduce our conditions in that area, and we can generate the heat loads for every enclosure, the chart reports, the hard evolution, and annual evolution. You see? It's very important to notice that we recently introduced the bridges unit system. And you can solve various topologies, systems like fan coils, split, underfloor heating. And we are going for the rooftop. We are going to select one of the systems from the roof. Okay, this is one of them. This is the heating, ventilation, air conditions. We're going to select part of the system. We are building just a net. Once we finish with the net, we can run the analysis. Now, the program designs automatically the installations under the criteria of the ASHRAE Society. That means the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning. Now the 3D view about this part, the job reports, you can see in details, you can navigate inside the structure, and the job reports. And very important that we can export that to Energy Plus. See details about the drawings, and then the Energy Plus. See, now we're going to do something about the acoustic. We go by normative in every country. It's very quick. You can generate the analysis, the full in detail, the documents, the report, all the formula, very clean. See? And then we're going for the heating and the fire. This is a simulation installation. This is our installation. Now we're going to generate some load and the optical smoke detector. Finally, we're going to run the analysis, the simulation analysis, in that specific area of the building. As you can see, we run the program very fast, and the evacuation, smoke evacuation is going to be optimized. And finally, the exportation in ArchiCAD. So this is a resume about the process. So we generate the 3D view, the reports, and all we are using the library, our library, the locations, part of the DX files that we are going to use, and also the 3D view, even the shadows, the chart reports, the 2D and 3D drawings, and one more time again, about how to export to the program ArchiCAD, and that's all. Thank you very much for your time. I pass the. Okay, thank you. I will pass the information to Andrew.
Thanks very much indeed. That was great, man. I think that we have a very good cover as to what is it that an engineer can do in CYPE Engineers, and that there's obviously a very clear workflow between the architecture and the engineering world, all coming from a single source or database. Now we're going to be introducing the information into ArchiCAD in terms of the structure. As you know, we're talking about an IFC system, so we're selecting the information that the engineer has sent us for structure. And in this case, what we're going to be checking is for any changes within the rest of the model. That's why it's looking around. And if there are no changes, it will then narrow down into what we're requiring. So it's going to be done in 2 seconds. Beyond that, we will just start showing you how we merge this information and how we keep it clear in terms of locating changes. So at this stage, we can see now a main interface. This interface is going to let us choose the initial element that we send to the engineer, which is again an IFC file. We will then select that particular file, say OK, and then continue on with the comparable file that we have to do against, and that's going to be the one sent by CYPE. As soon as we have that information, we're able then to start asking it to go. We have several ways of going through. We have translators that obviously are narrowed down to each specific software vendor, and right grid coming up in a second. Regarding to the left, means that we've taken it's easier to select. Look at, we should be able to do. There's another view of it coming up. It's just another setup. See that it actually comes with the geometries you can see. So it's quite nifty, quite clear. At this stage now, we're going to be looking at the MEP set part of this, and the reason for it is just that you can see it involved or mixed together with the architecture. Again, is a similar system. We simply pick up the file sent to us by the engineer. It then gets inputted directly. We will choose the way we want, or what is it that we want from that IFC file to come in, and as soon as we have that, we then say for it to go ahead and show us. It's going to come up in a minute. Obviously we were here in terms of the structure, but very soon we will see what the influence of the AC system is like in our floor. Here we go. It's all in blue, light blue, as you can see, and it shows us very clearly what it's like. So we can start checking for clashes. By the way, MEP in ArchiCAD does the checking of clashes against structure and architecture, and we would be able to very quickly ascertain whether something's right or wrong. Again, we mark it up, we can send it back to the engineer, or we can simply adjust it and tell them that something has to be looked at. So here we are, we have all this information coming through. It is quite a good setup. We're able to acquire all these elements in original ArchiCAD map elements that we can continue exploring if we have to, or identifying, for example, manufacturers that have been used for the cooling systems and the like. Right now, I'm going to now change my screen so that you can see what happens with the uploading of the information to the portal of BIM components. Now, in this case, we know that ArchiCAD off-the-shelf comes with a lot of objects. In fact, it comes with over 1,000. And if you look at all the permutations, it could even be on more than that. It's thousands, in fact, because there's lots of them. It's probably about the best that we can get. However, in each of the projects, we need specifics. Right now, with 16, we have very specific equipment elements coming up for hospitals and the like, as well as us being able to include further special designs that we want to customize, or manufacturers' content. So in order to do that, we actually check first. We always make sure that the information we're going to put out into the market makes sense. And what we asked is our users to describe how they exchanged, created, downloaded, and they exchanged information in terms of GDL objects, or if you like, BIM elements. So we've discovered that in the web there's over 30,000 GDL elements, which are in fact intelligent systems or objects that we use. And of course this has its problems. Visibility, transparency, the search for individual objects is difficult, and working with the flow of ArchiCAD wasn't that great because it comes down as a zip, and then being able to share this content was not easy because there was no place to bring it up to. So now what our vision was is to make sure that we have everything in the one roof. In other words, aggregate all ArchiCAD objects into the one space that can be accessed easily within the workflow of doing BIM and within the system of ArchiCAD. So we present you with BIM Components. BIM Components.com is a portal that allows us to work from the cloud, but again here we have to be very careful what the cloud really means. Moving things to the cloud could be that you just have several servers that have been, if you like, linked together, and searching can be rather slow. So the way that we see things is a little bit differently. We see that as an ecosystem of solutions that need to be integrated and managed, that have to be easily accessible, and that have to be integrated in the different scenarios of work that we currently have. We cannot assume that we're always going to be in our studio. We might need to be on the flow, on the move, we will have to be on site, we will have to be with clients, and this requires us a lot more flexibility. For that, we have Windows Azure as well as Microsoft Dynamics. This is going to help us manage all this information in a logical sense. And at the same time, all of this has to be integrated into all the mobile systems that we currently have available to us. So here it is, this is the screen. So what we want to do is make sure that we fix the content issue with anybody, build a content market, because people can actually you know, buy and sell, and obviously the different manufacturers can show their wares through this portal and build a community, which is important. And at the end of the day is really leverage volume of scale. The reason for that is obviously the more that there is, the easier it is to find, the better it is for all. Again, collaboration is the main key here. In our case, we've produced the Morph tool that allows us to customize and create library paths. Relatively simple. We're then able to search in the cloud easily for the different kinds of elements that we require. And by the same token, the BIM portal allows us to search and download centrally, directly into our system. So now we're going to have a look at the BIM Components demo. In this case, we're going to simply have a look at what was being done with that sofa that we had seen initially, and we're going to continue with the story of what happens once you've created that particular object. Here we are. So in this object, we're simply going to start saving it as one. We created a morph, but that morph needs to be changed into an intelligent object. Here it is. It comes up. It simply allows us to do this. We give it a name. We're then able to expand information here so that we can put more info as we require. It will then launch us into the interface so that we can select all kinds of things there in terms of materials. And we can then say who's done it, who's created it. We can put even passwords if we have to, should we want to have a cell. We can use description codes, and we can use meta codes, if you like, so that it's easy to find or it's related to other elements, for example, chairs and tables, or sofas and lamps, so that people can then put them together and select if they have to. And at the same time, because we did a render before, we can add an image to it so that it's easy to visualize when we select it. So here we go. It's been saved. Now it's a part of our library. It's encrusted, which means that we already are able to use it all over the place. Should we have to modify it, we can continue modification with Morph. But here we are. We found it in our library as such. As you can see, it has lots of different properties as well as intelligent elements, and it's going through all the ticks to ensure that it has all the information that we require. We can add more if we like to, depending on how we progress. It can be a simple object from the start, and then it can be added with manufacturing content, with life cycles, with all kinds of things. That's why they're intelligent. Now we can search both internally within our library setup, as you can see there, or also outside in the system that we have BIM Components at. So we can have a search, and the search in this case is going to be just table to make it easy. And as you can see, we have those internal views from the libraries inside ArchiCAD, but those with the globe next to them, once we're downloading directly, they will become part of our project. That will in fact be part of our library setup and zipping it on. We can even explore the object once we're inside through the web, which we will show you in a second. So there you are. It's actually been downloading, and it's not that bad, considering that we're going through the internet at this stage, as well as doing a demo, a live demo. But here we are. We have the actual elements with us. So it's quite clear. It's very easy to understand, and it falls into a very logical pattern of search, as well as being able to dispose of it or being able to use it. All right, so now we're going to go into the web. Just with a web browser, we have access to the same portal, because we're not going to deny people outside the system to come in. Again, we believe in open BIM, and you're able to go in there again, search for table, just as an example. Anything that is associated to table, be that as it may, it will come up, even a bed, look at that. But it's important to note that we're able to search through it, locate what we want, because then we can go by category, by manufacturing, by even types, or whatever furnishing that we want. Once we have located that element and we have the GDL adapter downloaded, we should be able to have a look at it directly on the internet. As soon as it downloads a little bit, let's see how slow our internet connection is, but we can tweet it, we can take it onto Facebook, we can do all kinds of things. So you can see it here, right? So it's able to be looked at. We can actually even open it so we can see what's inside, who's the manufacturer, how much it costs, all kinds of things. This is excellent because producing a project, as we were told by Liverpool, is not just making the building, it's also running it later and making sure that this rich information is linked to management systems, be that SAP, ERP, and the other. So it's good to see that information flow is going to be clear. All right, so let's just continue on a little bit here and finish up. We're going to have a little bit of a summary and show you all. So in summary, we find that the Morph tool is extremely effective. There's no longer any kind of limits. It's only our imagination. We can start thinking of it from the environment. I'm sorry about the spelling. It should be environment. There is no environment. We can also have buildings, obviously anything from externals. We can even put structures to the test. We can do interiors like we've seen with all the surfaces inside Liverpool Lomas, and at the same time do micro modeling for all kinds of elements in terms of furnishing, tools, whatever you need. At the same time, this becomes intelligent because we can take it up directly to the cloud. We're able to then come into contact and interact with different areas of the cloud in an intelligent way because we have a system that manages, and it's not just a dumping ground. Beyond that, we're able to then see that the solutions ecosystem that complete the flow of information in BIM are quite clear from the Graphisoft point of view. We're able to bring you any kind of the tools within the Windows and Mac environment. We definitely see that the BIM server is a major plus because we're able to share and work together across continents without any stopping us in terms of geography. ArchiCAD 16 now has incorporated the initial energy analysis for any kind of building. If you want to go beyond that later on, much like CYPE is doing by sectorizing and doing compartments and doing even bridging, thermal bridges and the like, you can then use Eco Designer Star. That should be coming out now very soon. We have a pre-established system for MEP within ArchiCAD that you can actually model and then send to the engineer for checking. And as you have seen, the ArchiCAD also has a fairly wide range of structural elements that we can use to create our pre-study of our building and then be having that checked by the engineers. To show all of this, we're able to take it into the BMX. BMX is capable of using a very small file that can be self-executable both in Mac as well as Windows, but most importantly, all of this is accessible to us through the mobile systems that we currently have for Microsoft, for iOS, as well as for the Google setup that we currently have as well, the Android systems. So we're able to put all of that together. We're able to push it up and down into the cloud through bimcomponents.com. We can then even interact with social media, with Twitch as well as the Facebook, and able to exchange or go beyond our limits of our study towards what's out there. Okay, so we'd like to thank you very much for what we've seen here. You know that the actual webinar will be recorded as we're doing right now, and therefore will be sent to you. And if you have any kind of questions, we can actually answer a few. We run out of time a little bit, but if there are any questions, please let me know. All right, look, it looks like we're sort of running out of time anyway. So one of the questions was, can you actually check clash detection? Yes, you can. The intention here is that MEP is able to do so. It's already inbuilt, and you can even use other systems like Solibri so that you can actually dump all this information and have a check of it. And you know, information like this is always easy to find if you want to check with our tutorials online. They are all on YouTube and the channels, and we can continue on. The other question is, does 16 come out internationally? Yes, as you know, it's already come out in June internationally. It is now this particular venture that is going for both Spanish and Portuguese, with the new appearance of Brazil in the market, of course, which is an important market. It's coming out at the end of the year in the Brazilian localized session as well. So beyond that, you just wait and see to actually get it. Beyond that is the BIM server able to sustain short failures in internet? Yes, that's one of the biggest pluses of the BIM server. The BIM server is capable of continuing to work offline, and as soon as you come online, it'll then send and receive information, and it will check for any kind of clashes. You will have no problems. It's a very safe system. Right, looks like we have a few other questions, but we cannot answer them right now. So we would like to thank you very much for attending, for being with us. We'd like to thank Fernando Parrillat with his contribution from Liverpool. I think it's one of the best ways that any enterprise can go forward and be competitive in the global world that we move on. And thank you to CYPE and CYPE Engineers for helping us along to show how open BIM actually works, and the fact that we're able to all interchange or exchange information in a system that allows us all to grow and be collaborative. Again, thank you very much for your attendance, and we'll see you on the next one.